Yo, what's up everyone, it's Josh again, and today I'll be showing you how I add one of these YC8 connectors to one of my cable builds. Before we start the video, I just want to thank everyone watching for supporting the channel. It's been really awesome seeing how many people are watching these videos, and I really hope you all are finding them valuable. If you aren't subscribed already, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more custom cable and mechanical keyboard content like this. And while you're there, might as well hit the like button too. But anyways, let's go hop into this YC8 connector build. Alright, before we get started with the build, I just want to introduce you to the YC8 connector here first. This is actually one of my favorite detachable connectors to work with. I just find it's very versatile, it looks pretty sleek, and also it's usually significantly cheaper than something like a Limo. But yeah, I really enjoy using this connector and really have found a lot of uses for it. Just to compare it with the GX16 Aviator, you can see the size difference here, it's pretty significant. And unlike the Aviator, this is also a push-pull connector, so if I want to take it apart, I just pull it and it comes apart, and we see our contacts here. And if I want to reconnect it, I just do it as snapping it together, as simple as that. So this is a really cool way to have a detachable connector on your cable, plus it's very easy to use for the most part. Today I'll be adding this connector to my cable I'm working on here. I have a 5-foot long end here with a USB-A, and I have my 6-inch coil, as well as a USB-C here, and I'll be adding the YC8 connector to connect these two together. If you haven't watched a coiled cable video or the DIY sleeve cable video, make sure to check out those videos first. I'll link them below. But anyways, let's get started in installing this YC8 connector. Alright, the first step, which is kind of more like a planning step. This took me literally like a month to figure out of many failed YC8 cables. But anyways, you need to, if you're using double sleeving, you do need to have some excess tech flex or whatever double sleeving you're using at the end of the cable for your detachable connectors to slide on. If you don't do this, you're going to have a very difficult time adding the YC8 housings to your cable, and you're going to see how easy it is to add your connector thanks to having this excess sleeving. If you're just using paracord, it should slide on fine for the most part, but given that if you're using a double sleeving, it adds extra diameter to your cable, you will need to have some extra to work with here. Alright, so our next step here is to disassemble the connector here. All you want to do is take it apart again, just like that. From there, I'm going to remove the female side first. So what you can do is just screw off this top here, just twist it around, and this comes off. And then you have our butt end here. You just need to unscrew this. So there's only 3 parts to each side of these connectors, which is really nice and pretty easy to work with. The male side here, this actually took me forever to figure out how this works. But to take off this this male part in here, what I use is I take the female side of the connector, I slide it in so it kind of comes in place, and then I just use this to twist it and get leverage to release the inner connector here. So just like this, I'm going to twist it, and with that I'm going to get the contact point here out, just like this. So that comes out there, and then from there I just need to remove the butt end as well. So here we have our disassembled YC8 connector. Alright, so the next step here is to add our housings to our cable. What we need to do before this is, since my cable is a little thicker than usual with the double sleeving, I'm going to need to expand these little, I guess, teeth here to make sure it fits my cable properly. So I'm going to take a pair of needle nose pliers here, and I'm going to delicately pull these back a little to kind of give me more space. So here you see it before, it's pretty tight here, so I'm going to open this up. Usually these prongs are a little brittle, so you gotta be pretty careful as you do this. I usually just put my thumb and use it as a blocker to make sure I don't put too much pressure on it. But this is a process that needs to be done, or else your connector might not fit your double sleeve cable. So I have it done here, so you see that's a little more expanded now. I'm gonna do the same on the other side here. Pull it back and make sure you do each one, make sure it's even. If you do it too hard or too rough, the whole fin will probably just come off. It typically isn't a huge problem for most cables, but I typically want to have all of these intact, or you might have some fraying issues in the future. So these are all expanded. I'm going to add these to my cables now. I typically add the male part, since it's the more springy part, to the coiled end or the device end. And from there, I just need to add this butt end first. I'm going to slide this in using this excess tech flex that we have here. and it should slide in fairly easily for the most part. So I'm adding it in right here. So you see that slide in. And then from there, I'm going to add the over housing to it as well. You can kind of twist this over the tech flex here, and it kind of slides on fairly easily. There we go. So there we have our YC8 housing on here. And then for me, I like adding a little heat shrink here, just to kind of cover up the connections once it's all completed and before we reassemble it. So I'm gonna add some heat shrink here. Let's get on there. So that part is done. Now let's go over to the long side. So same process here. I'm gonna take my long end of the cable. I'm gonna slide on the butt end here. Get a little your tech flex all in there, and it slides on fairly easily. And then I'm gonna do the same with the housing here. Just kind of slide this in, do a little twisting, and there we go. Got both of my housings in, and then I'm gonna add a little heat shrink here as well. All right, so the next step that we're gonna hop into here is just stripping the cable. We just wanna have about less than a ½ an inch of wire to make the connections here. Anything more than that, your housing may not stay on properly, and any less than that, it'd probably be very difficult to solder. So yeah, I'm gonna probably fast forward through this process here, but yeah, make sure to strip your cable. All right, and here I have my finished strip cables. So I have a very small part left on, and I just stripped the ends of each of those wires. And from here, we can go now into soldering our cable. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna do here is tin all of our connection points. So I'm gonna start off with the contact points for the connectors. Just add a little solder to everything here. It'll help you as you go. I typically don't like to add too much, just enough to make the contact as I work on it here. And take your time doing this, because the pins are pretty small compared to like an aviator. So it'd be pretty easy to like accidentally like have some solder overlap. So I made the mistake quite a few times myself, but just be careful as you tin these. Yeah, so I added a little tin there, so I'm gonna go on to the other side here. Yeah, it's a pretty good time. Getting your solder on. Got 2 more contacts here. Sometimes your YC8 connector, like the pins may move. You can always adjust them using like a pair of tweezers or something to make sure that they're positioned the way you want them to. Alright, so these are tinned here. And I'm going to do my wires as well. Just add a little to all these, just to make sure that they create a good joint once you have them all in. And there we go. We have everything tinned now. And from here, we can go ahead and work on connecting these all together. All right, so the next part I'm gonna do here is solder it on the connectors. I'm using the diagram as listed under here. I'm gonna add the link to these notes in the description below, so feel free to check that out if you'd like. But yeah, probably gonna fast forward through this as well, so I'm just gonna solder these connectors on. Alright, so now we have the whole thing soldered on. Just as a quick tip during soldering is there's actually numbers on each of the connectors. They're very difficult to see, but there are kind of etched into the connectors inside, so make sure to use that for reference there. But yeah, we can go ahead and test this now. I have my long side plugged in. I'm going to kind of just plug these in here. So you find that spot. There we go. There's little notches here so you can see if you can line them up together. And I'm going to grab my USB-C keyboard here and see if this works. There we go. Big boy. Oops. Plug it in. And I believe it's functional. Yeah. My Alt tab works. Everything seems to be working. So yeah, we have a working cable here. So now we can go ahead and kind of rebuild our connectors here. Alright, so next that we have all of the connections secure and we tested that this connection works, what I'm going to go ahead is kind of just heat shrink these contact points. I like to add a little electrical tape here just for some extra peace of mind, but totally an optional step. But since we put that heat shrink on before, we can go ahead, slide it up, and we can heat shrink down our connectors here. There we go. And just a helpful hint, this is a really good way to kind of protect your cable from kind of making any contact with the metal housing and thus kind of preventing some shorts there. Technically, if your solder points are like perfect, you won't have to need to do this, but it's always a nice thing to have extra precautions. And then I believe the other step, I think this is the final step, is to go ahead and reassemble the connector. So what I'm going to do, this is our female end or the long end. I'm just going to slide this back up. And then from there I can hold on to this here and just twist it back in place and follow the threads. And this should come together just like that. So there we go. I'm going to take a pair of pliers. I'm going to secure this housing to the cable by just securing these here. Make sure to be fairly gentle or these may come off. So I'm going to do it so you see how we have a pretty good connection around here. And then we're going to slide this up here. And from here we can finish the reassembly if this wants to come on. There we go. So there's our male end here. This is all done, or female end, I guess. With the male end, it's a little more tricky. I'm gonna slide this up. I'm actually gonna take a pair of tweezers and kind of hold this inner part here, just like this. And then I'm just gonna follow the threads and screw this back in just like this. And it should go all the way in theory. You gotta find the sweet spot. There you go. I think I got it. And you shouldn't be able to turn it anymore, and that's when you know it's secure. Then from there, it should be pretty inside of your housing here. And then what we can do is do the same thing we did on the other side. We're going to secure it here. Pull these little tabs down. And then slide this up. And from there, that's basically the end of our YC8 connector build. We have our two ends fully YC8 together. We have our nice coil. And we have our long end. And now we have a finished YC8 cable. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you're interested, I should be having some YC8s in the store. So if you want to pick some of your own, feel free to check it out there. I'll also leave links to all my socials in the description below. But yeah, thanks for checking out the video. Hope you enjoyed it and hope you learned something. But yeah, keep creating, keep having fun, and I hope cable making is something that you can enjoy doing. But anyways, take care. Thanks for watching this video. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and make wise choices. Alright, okay, bye.